If you don't know, Mechanism's Mekasuit doesn't usually come fully upgraded. It is, in fact, incredibly strong, just as it is. But the fun part about the mech suit, or Mekasuit, is the upgrades. The upgrades can be done at a modification station. All you need to do is hook it up to power, and it should be all set to go. And once you have your Mekasuit, you can put it on, and you can see that I am invisible. There we go. The Mekasuit apparently doesn't like shaders, but it looks pretty freaking awesome just right off the bat. But we can make it even better. So like I said, if you don't know, the Mekasuit stores energy instead of like health or armor, and the energy is what acts as your armor. And if you run out of energy, then you start taking damage, which brings us to our first upgrade, the energy unit. If we go ahead and click onto this, you can see we can select which parts of our suit we want to upgrade. And we'll just go ahead and say we want to put an energy unit onto the helmet. And there it jumped from 6.4 to 12.8 million FE. So it essentially doubled the amount of armor or energy that it has. Now you can do this multiple times. So we're at a max of 12.8 and now a max of 25.6. And you can keep doing that until you get, I believe, 8 of them on there. So at the maximum, you can store 1.63 GFE from a base of 6.4 million, which is quite the upgrade. I mean, it doesn't even show, like these all have 6.4 and you can see their energy bar is full. This still has 6.4. But the energy bar, you can't even like tell that it looks like it's empty. So that is definitely one of the best ones that you can get. One of the other really good upgrades is the charge distribution unit. With this upgrade, you can actually take this and put it on one piece of armor, and that is going to distribute the charge evenly. So if you start to take damage, essentially all of your armor will wear down at the same rate, rather than one piece running out of energy completely. It'll spread out the charge to, keep the armor up longer. Next up on our list is going to be the vision enhancement and the inhalation purification. With the two of these, you can install the vision enhancement unit onto your helmet, and you can have up to 4 of those. Once you have those 4 installed, you can turn on night vision. So now that we're somewhere really dark, we could just go ahead and turn on our vision enhancement, and voila, no longer need torches. So if you run out while you're mining, no big deal. Or if you're somewhere extra dark, just turn this on and it'll be smooth sailing versus trying to mine in the dark. Ooh, what did we find here? Iridium. Another upgrade for your helmet is going to be the inhalation purification unit. And if we read what it says, it applies a miniature electromagnetic field around the breathing apparatus, preventing selected potion effects types. So with that, no more problems with witches or any other effects. You really don't have to worry about taking damage that way anymore. So I would say that these 4 are going to be some of the best ones that you can get. Now, for some others that aren't quite as survival focused and more so quality of life focused. The next 2 I'm going to show you are going to be the locomotive boosting unit, as well as the hydraulic propulsion unit. And these upgrades are going to be for the pants, and you can stack them up to 4 times. So the hydraulic propulsion allows you to step and jump higher. So I'll put 4 of them on there. Oh, not the pants, boots, excuse me. And the locomotive boosting unit is for the pants. So one's for the boots, one's for the pants. So I'll put those both on. And the boosting unit allows you to increase your sprint speed and jumping distance. So with both of these on, we can simply walk up blocks. We don't have to jump up them anymore. And you can see I have my keybind set to C on the keyboard. So we start at 0, which is our normal walking speed. Then we can go up to 0.05, a little bit faster, 0.1, 0.25, and finally 0.5. Oh, and then we got ourselves stuck. And here we go, 0.5. And this is just lightning fast. And you can just see how much ground we're covering. Though it can make it a little bit difficult to control where you're going, especially in this like marshland where we happen to be. If that's too fast, you can always just shift down. It does look a little weird because you lay down also, but that's just a keybind issue. And you can set it to whichever speed you like the best. Next on our list are two really good ones, but they're once again movement features and not necessarily survival, I suppose. That is going to be the jetpack unit and the electrolytic breathing unit. So if we go ahead and get these installed on our Mekasuit helmet, we can put the breathing unit, and it says you can stack up to 4 on there. And you can read here that you can use oxygen from the water to breathe, but it also fills your jetpack with hydrogen. We can see on our body armor that we have no gas stored for our jetpack. Now I'll go ahead and put myself into survival here. Now, if we just go on and jump in here, we can see that our air bubbles are not going away. And if we take a look, our stored hydrogen is going up. So just by being in the water, we can charge up our jetpack, which is super awesome. Once it's charged to your liking, you can simply just fly on out. Super useful for getting around. Next up are ones that I think aren't too useful, but unless you're doing something very specific. And I'm going to kind of group these 3 into one. The radiation shielding unit, dosimeter. Gosh, I know I'm not saying that right. Dosimeter unit and the Geiger unit. And those are all very specific for radiation. So unless you're working with reactors or, running a risk of the reactor blowing up, I think the radiation shielding unit, it's really not going to be that useful. You can put it on all pieces of your armor, and when you do have it on there, it would protect you from radiation in the area. But by the time you have the mech suit or the mecha suit, you're already kind of past, you've worked with the reactors already. And you've kind of passed most of the risk unless you're doing some like experimental stuff. So could be good in situations, but ultimately this one's not my favorite. Now, for our last group of upgrades, we are going to cover the nutritional injection unit. This one, also not one of my favorites. Essentially, you can install this on your helmet and it would feed you nutritional paste. So the idea behind that is that you wouldn't really have to eat again. But also, once again, by this point in the game, I mean, if you ever used a backpack, then, if you just put the feeding upgrade on the backpack, you've already solved hunger like really early on in the game. So this one's not as useful as it seems like it is. Next up, we have our solar recharging unit. And once again, that'll go on your helmet, because the sun shines down on top of your head. And what this would do is exactly what it sounds like. It would charge your equipment just by being out in the sun. And you can see it there on our head, that we've got a little solar panel just on top of our helmet. And you can see that, there it goes. 6.06 to 6.07. So it will charge, but it is so slow. And it would be way faster to just stand on a charge pad and get yourself charged up from the power you're producing. So once again, the solar charging unit, not my favorite. Lastly, we have 2 really interesting ones. A teleportation unit, as well as the gravitational modulating unit. Now, technically, the teleportation one is for the mech tool and not the suit, but let me show you what it does. So with the mecha tool, you can put it into the same modification station and input your teleportation unit. Now, I'm not going to cover all the upgrades for the mecha tool in this episode, but if you do want to see all the upgrades, let me know in the comments. But for this one, you simply right click and it'll let you teleport. Now, it doesn't have a super far range. So like if we aim way out there, it's not going to do it, but we could get to there. So we could reach the trees. So that was pretty good. But if we want to go way out there, can't quite get it. Could just reach that tree. So it does have a bit of a limited range. It is fun. It's definitely fun to just kind of jump around and teleport just like an Enderman. I really don't see like a good use case for this unless you're like exploring like a giant, you know, structure or something. But then once again, I mean, we have a jetpack. So that one's fun, but not my favorite either. Lastly, we are going to touch on the gravitational modulating unit. Now for this, you cannot have your jetpack unit installed. So you have to take that out. Now, this does something really interesting. And I have to jump back into survival to show you. Okay, so here we are in survival. And with this installed, it unlocks creative flight in survival. I mean, how cool is this? And I mean, the jetpack is super fun, and you can definitely keep it if you want, especially for the last item I'm going to touch on. I know I said this was the last one, but we do have one more. But yeah, I mean, this is just, I mean, how do you beat creative flight? So that upgrade, super awesome, but it does take antimatter, which is very hard to get. Okay, lastly, we will take off our gravitational modulating unit, and we are going to put on the jetpack unit once more, as well as the elytra unit. Now, those of you that have been watching my playthrough of Valhelsia on my survival world will know exactly what this is. And I do have shaders on in that one, so we haven't really seen the full Mekasuit in action like this, so this will be pretty sweet. But with the jetpack unit and the elytra unit, we can take flight with our awesome elytra wings. And I mean, it's just so cool. And creative flight is, I mean, great, but this is just, I mean, it's so cool. You don't even need rockets because you have the jetpack on. And if you need a boost, you just whoop, fire your jetpack. So, I mean, I don't know. These are just so good. And because of that, and that we worked so hard for the elytra unit, I'm actually going to put that in one of the best tiered items. And the jetpack, I'm kind of going to put in the middle. So there we go. If I was going to rate these, I would say these are S tiers. The energy, charge distribution, inhalation, vision, and the elytra. We have a runner-up S tier, so maybe like A tier, jetpack unit, as well as the propulsion, locomotive, breathing unit, and the gravitational unit, I'm just going to say that's an outlier because it's really hard to get and you can only have this one or the elytra one. So I suppose that decision's up to you. And then our bottom tier items, radiation shielding unit, nutritional injection, and solar recharging. They're really just not that useful. So we're going to leave things there. If I missed any, let me know. Or if you have a favorite one and you don't agree with my rankings, also let me know in the comments. If you do want me to cover the Mekasuit upgrades, I can definitely do that as well. But for now, we'll leave things here. Thanks for watching, and if you do want to see my whole progress, go ahead and check out the playlist of Valhelsia on my channel. And you can see us go from absolutely nothing to getting our elytra and mech suit. It's pretty awesome. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye!